How's it going, everybody? Well, we've got Trump who is dropping some bombshell videos today over what Biden and Harris did with the border. This is probably the most damaging video clip when it comes to Harris and Biden saying that the border was secure. On top of this video clip, the new Immigration and Customs Enforcement numbers, so ICE, they show how badly we have maintained the border, have let in murders, rapists, and all kinds of things come in, and it is just blowing up everywhere. Except you're not going to see what you're about to see on CNN, MSNBC, CBS. They literally have it nowhere on their site. They're trying to protect Biden and Harris. This is so disgraceful to them as media, but you're going to see it here. We also have Kamala Harris, who essentially finally visited the border for 19 minutes. She hasn't been there in over 3 years, but yet for 19 minutes, she was able to take a photo op at the border, and people need to see this. On top of it, the DOJ is suing Alabama for trying to clean up its voter rolls before the election. So, trying to get non-citizens or illegals or people that have been deceased off voter rolls now constitutes the DOJ suing you as a state. That's where this administration is at. On top of that, Speaker Mike Johnson says that we are on the verge of World War III with the new intel that they have received. We need a new leader in office. So we got a lot of breaking news today. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. We are here to serve you. And we just want to say we appreciate all of the members of our channel. Remember, the link is in the description to join the True Life News family. And also want to say thank you to everybody that blesses our family and this channel with the super chat. We are truly grateful, and we are going to do great things with this channel. So we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to show you this video that is now circulating, being pushed by Trump because it is the most damaging. So Biden and Harris said that the border was secure. You had Texas who went and put all this razor wire around the border to make sure nobody came in. This is literally the Biden-Harris administration sent this forklift truck over there and is lifting it up. And check this out. Allowing these people that are non-vetted, we have no idea where they're from, to come into our country, bypassing Texas's border protection. You don't think? Like, this video is going crazy right now. And look at this. They're lined up. Let me know your thoughts, because they're explicitly allowing them to come into our country. And this is where, again, too, we're not vetting them. We don't have background checks. We don't know their records. So they are pushing this video big time. A lot of people are super upset over all the new details from ICE that we've got. And now we have this update. Check it out.
ICE director and Brandon Judd, former National Border Patrol Council president. Now, Trump hit Kamala today, guys, over the Biden-Harris record on the border. Watch.
4 years ago, Kamala Harris inherited the most secure border in U.S. history. And as border czar, she then set the all-time record for illegal immigration into our country every single year. And many of these people were stone-cold criminals and murderers. She willfully and deliberately erased her own nation's borders, a crime so wicked as to defy description.
Now, Tom, obviously you served under President Trump. You're watching this choreography play out today. What's your sense about the rank and file on the ground and what they feel, given what they've seen day after day?
The rank and file has no respect.
Right here. Kamala's border lies have been exposed. I just showed you the video. They were literally lifting up the border, the wire, to not let people in so that people can just come in from the Biden-Harris administration, on top of the new ICE numbers, over 14,000 murders that have committed murder in other countries unvetted. Here in the United States, we have no idea. On top of another 13,000 rapists that we have no idea. They've been let into our country. Check this out.
Look, she broke the border. President Trump is right. He handed this administration the most secure border in my 34-year career, and they broke the border on purpose by abolishing everything we created under President Trump. And let's remember, I'm sick of her talking about the Senate bill. I don't want to talk about it because 6 months before the Senate bill was even talked about, we had H.R. 2, which passed the House, which is 100 times stronger than the Senate bill. But Chuck Schumer wouldn't put it on the floor for a vote. He wouldn't put it up for debate. The White House kept pushing it down. So they're the ones that shut down legislation that could have fixed the border. But we got to remember, she broke the border. She didn't fix it. And she ought to apologize to the men and women of the Border Patrol, the chaos she created. She ought to apologize to the families of the 41 Border CBP officers who committed suicide under this administration. She ought to apologize to the Horse Patrol for comparing them to racists. She ought to apologize to ICE for comparing them to the KKK. She ought to apologize to men and women who are in that green uniform who are giving CPR to babies, talking to girls as young as 7 raped by the criminal cartels because she opened this border wide up.
This is why President Trump invoked Tom Homan's name so many times today, as I heard. Brandon, it's amazing how she's strolling alongside the border wall, and the Biden administration did everything in its power to ensure that not a foot of it, another foot of it, got built. Your reaction to that? She wanted that photo. Yeah, she wanted that photo today.
Yep. And that's why we saw complete chaos in Yuma. All you have to do is look at the locations where she refused to enhance all the security measures that we needed. Yuma exploded. The Tucson sector exploded. Right there in Douglas, it exploded. Naco, Arizona, which is right next to Douglas, saw lows and that exploded. So all of that area has completely and totally gotten out of control, and it's simply because it comes down to policy. If this election comes down to policy, which it should come down to, if you look at economic, domestic, if you look at foreign policy, and of course border security policy, if you look at all of those policies, you will grade Donald Trump much higher than Kamala Harris. And if it comes down to policy, if we actually vote based upon what is best for this country, it is clear that Donald Trump is the winner. Kamala Harris is going to the border because she knows it's a liability. She knows that she has to spin it. She knows that she has to try to rewrite history based upon what she does. She needs to be judged based upon what she has done. And what she did was release chaos, which completely and totally undermined every single Border Patrol agent. Every single time that we wanted to do our jobs, we couldn't do it. We just had to process people into the United States and say goodbye. We became essentially the Welcome Patrol, not the Border Patrol.
Yeah, changing.
And this is just to let you know, the Border Patrol Union, who is, in charge of the border, they released some statements from their union X account that I'm going to show you in a minute that literally they just completely demolished Kamala Harris over what she said about it, over this photo op, telling her she has no right to be here, lying to the American people that they should be before Congress testifying before this tragedy.
Diapers, getting baby formula. I mean, I was there. I saw exactly what was going on, and it looks like we're learning now that she's going to call for, not surprise, more resources for Border Patrol agents to do their jobs. But I want to remind everyone watching tonight what she said about ICE.
We've got to critically re-examine ICE, probably think about starting from scratch.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
I see no.
Are you aware that there's a perception
that puts ICE in the same category as the KKK?
Back to your point, Tom, you raised it. The ICE, the same category as the KKK. And Tom, I think you have to address this point, that when they say the encounters are down at the border, we also have to remember that they're paroling in people at record numbers, almost, 1 million from Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba. Is that meaning bringing them into the United States and placing them in communities? They did the same with Haitians, but that's their new approach, is it not? Resettling people legally.
Absolutely. Like the numbers aren't down that significant. Like you said, they put them in different buckets, and they can call them legal pathways, which are not. They're totally illegal. 30,000 a month from Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba, and the 30,000 every month, we can't return them because these 4 countries won't take them back. So they know this 30,000 is going they're not going anywhere unless President Trump's back in the White House. Then they're bringing thousands a day through the CBP One app. If you have the CBP One app and the CHNV, and plus what the Border Patrol is still catching, we're still at historic numbers. Historic numbers. Mexico stepped up enforcement a little bit. Why? Because they don't want President Trump to be president. You know who else don't want President Trump to be president? The criminal cartels in Mexico who are making billions of dollars every month. The government of Mexico don't want President Trump to be president because the gravy train's over. The terrorist organizations around the world who are using the southwest border as an entry point in this country, they don't want President Trump to be president either. So for everybody who's voting for Kamala Harris, you're in great company there.
Brandon, a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most helpful to her presidential ambitions, what will this trip do for her, do you believe?
It will be, it's a 0. The only people that are going to be convinced are those that have their head in the sand, that haven't been watching the news, that haven't been looking at this coverage, that don't know what's going on the border. That's the only thing. So this is, and I believe that the American people, I believe that everybody understands what's going on with illegal immigration, border security. So this trip is going to be absolutely nothing. It's going to change nothing for her in the battleground states, especially in Arizona, which has felt everything that this administration has done. It's not going to do anything for her.
The theater of the absurd, Tom and Brandon.
I believe the American people are smarter than this. I believe that the American people, we can see through this photo op, through these politics. I want to show you this because to me, this is all. If this is anything anybody ever needs to see to decide on how fake Kamala Harris is when it comes to what she's done with the border. Right here, you can see the Border Patrol Union. This is their tweets at the top. They said, today VP Harris claimed that she played a role in increasing Border Patrol agent overtime pay. This couldn't be further from the truth, as with all things border related, she was nowhere to be found when we needed her. They said VP Harris asserted in Arizona that CBP needed more resources. We have apprehended over 8 million illegal immigrants over the last 4 years, and now you realize we need more help 38 days before the election? They said Vice President Harris has ignored the border problem. This is from the Border Patrol Union. She has ignored the border problem she created over 3 years. She goes down there for 20 minutes for a photo op and decides to repeat some of the things the NPBC has said before. But again, where has she been in the last 3.5 years? This, you can't deny this. There's no going away from this. There's too many people, thank God, that are standing up, that are 100% going to tell the truth and what's actually going on, because what Kamala Harris is, she sold out the American people for foreigners. Check this out.
Were astounding. I mean, I was looking at this here. These are convicted of homicide. 13,000, 15,000 killers. I mean, are you kidding me? All in all, it's hundreds of thousands with convictions that have entered this country, and as you see here, are at large. This is stunning. And then we see, Caroline, you know, it was like hours later, there's Kamala Harris trying to act tough on the border and not saying a thing about this report and acting like she has done something. Where has she been the last 3.5 years?
Exactly right. And I wish the establishment media would ask Kamala Harris that question. Kamala Harris is a fake, phony politician. And for her to go down to the border yesterday with a straight face and lie to the faces of our brave Border Patrol and lie to the American people, claiming that she's tough on border security, absolutely not. Look at her actions throughout her entire career as a senator, as attorney general, even district attorney, way back in her early days in California. She has consistently stood against deportations. She led the fight in the Senate in 2018 against funding for Border Patrol and ICE. She voted voted against the construction of President Trump's border wall. She called it evil and racist. And she and Joe Biden opened our border to the entire world on day one of their administration. And we've had an invasion of more than 20 million illegal people. And this new ICE data is completely disqualifying. It proves President Trump has been right. The entire world is taking advantage of our open border, sending their worst, emptying their prisons and their jails, sending convicted murderers and rapists to commit harm on American citizens here. And Kamala Harris hasn't done anything about it. Yesterday, our team spoke with 3 angel mothers, two of whom lost their daughters at the hands of illegal murderer monsters who raped and killed their beautiful daughters. Another mother whose son was killed at the hands of Chinese fentanyl that came through the southern border under Kamala Harris's watch. Kamala has never reached out to those families. She's never even uttered the names of those victims.
No,
it's disgraceful. For this border crisis alone, she should resign. Never mind be considered for a promotion to be president of the United States. She has sold out our sovereignty. That's the #1 responsibility of a commander-in-chief, and she has failed.
Caroline Levitt, thank you.
Let me tell you this, 100%. Y'all don't, this is the thing. We show you the truth no matter where it comes from. But look at this. This is CNN. I'm going to refresh. Look, there's nothing going on about what you just heard about. That breaking news, the border, ICE, the numbers, nothing. Let's go to MSNBC. Let's refresh here so you can see this in real time. Look, nothing about the border, nothing about the ICE numbers. Let's go to ABC News. We'll refresh here. Nothing. This is why I believe, like my channel, there's other channels out there that we're going to show you the truth. Things that you normally don't get to see, you're going to see on this channel. Why? Because these mainstream media don't want to show you it. This is why we have to make sure that we get the truth 100%. Because if we don't show this, how will people know? And on top of that, there's more news that's coming out. Check this out.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense? And here's one way I judge it. So if the Biden administration, which controls not just Trump's security, but also his access to classified information, because they control the intel agencies. So if the Trump campaign wants to know what's going on, they have to rely on the Biden administration to find out. And if they want to protect themselves from that threat, they need to rely on the Biden administration to supply security. That's actually how our system works. I don't think that's a wise system, just saying. But if what they were saying is true, then they would, if they really believed Donald Trump was at risk of being shot out of the air with a surface-to-air missile, that's what they're telling us now, or being assassinated by his Iranian sleeper cell, because I know my neighborhood has quite a few, then they would be providing additional security, right? But they're not. They're providing so little security that he can't have outdoor rallies.
This is
because they're withholding security. He had to cancel an outdoor event in Wisconsin last weekend because they wouldn't provide enough security. But if you actually believed that one of the most famous person in the world, the guy who's ahead in the polls, whatever they tell you, Trump is ahead, the man most likely to be the next president was at risk of being murdered by a foreign power, you'd probably provide enough security. And if you didn't have it, because they were running around the country protecting Dr. Jill, which is what happened in Butler, Dr. Jill was under grave, grave threat. A lot of people are trying to stop Dr. Jill before she heals again, because as a doctor, that's what she does. Dr. Jill, don't get me going. How can one woman's ego trip control a nation of 350 million people? It's kind of amazing. But anyway, but if you really believe that and you didn't have enough security because they were with Dr. Jill at a diversity conference in Knoxville, you would bring in the National Guard or maybe the 101st Airborne. You would use the military to protect the future president from murder by a foreign power, but they're not doing that.
Nothing.
They're saying this is happening, the threat is so high that you can't appear outside, but we're not gonna help you protect yourself with security that you pay for. I'm thinking this is not on the level because that doesn't make any sense at all. And if it does, tell me how it makes sense. And this is true of virtually everything they say. It's not hard to determine whether it's true or false because you just assess it on the basis of like first grade logic. And that's true for almost everything. And they know it's true. And that's why they spend so much time trying to convince you that you're insane and try to convince you that your senses don't work. That actually they hand you a hamburger that smells like a dog bomb and they're like, no, it's really good. It smells like dog crap. I'm not eating that. You must eat it because it's delicious.
You know, when he says this goes right back to what I showed you in the very beginning whenever, you know, Biden and Harris saying, oh, we're tough on the border. We've secured the border, but yet they're sending forklifts to go and raise up the razor wire so that people can cross through. Texas can't even protect its own borders because Biden-Harris administration sent literally a truck to go and lift up the border that they created. But this is where they're gaslighting us, trying to tell us something that isn't so.
But I feel like I'm gonna vomit when it gets to me. Shut up and eat it. There's something wrong with your palate. There's nothing wrong with your palate. Your nose works fine. You know what's good or bad. You know what's right or wrong. Because you're born knowing. All of us are. We were born knowing what's right or wrong. Our moral code is no different substantially from the moral code that Hammurabi wrote thousands of years ago. Because it's in us, we know. And so the trick is to convince you that you don't know, that you need Dr. Jill or somebody else with a fake credential to know what's right or wrong. And you absolutely don't. You don't, and no free people does.
No.
You are allowed to decide for yourself on the basis of your values, your senses, and above all, your instincts. And I tell my kids this all the time, and I really mean it. Your instincts are designed to protect you. They were given to you by God at birth with one job. And that job is not to get elected to some stupid statewide office. There's no senator instinct. They're not trying to sell you a reverse mortgage. Your instincts are not trying to get rich. Your instincts only exist to protect and serve you. That's it. They're the most reliable guide you have, so trust them. Despite all the noise, and all the noise, if you actually think about it, and it's my job to think about it, all of it is designed to get you to ignore what's obvious. What's obvious? And they do that for two reasons. One, there's a certain power trip involved in lying 100%. To people in a way that's so obvious they know it's a lie, but making them believe it anyway, because really only God can do that. And that's what they loved about COVID, when it was so clear that everyone who got the shot was still getting COVID. They totally got off on preventing you from saying that, because that's true power. It's easy to fool someone. It's much harder to get someone to repeat a lie he knows is a lie, right? And that made them feel powerful. So that's the first thing. The second thing is they try to make you feel like there's something wrong with you, that you're in some weird minority of people, like some freaky subcategory that just doesn't want to castrate kids. What? You don't want to castrate? What's wrong with you, man? This country was built on child castration. We wouldn't have an America without child castration. Like, what? And you're like, really? Is that really a weird view? Yes, it is. You cannot allow them to do that. And as I always tell my kids, you know. For example, if you're talking to someone and you get the creepy vibe, like Tim Walz, I'm just throwing that out there. I've never met Tim Walz. But the first second I was like, man, I don't have enough evidence to indict you, I'm not going to, okay? But you're a creep. I went to boarding school in New England in the 1980s. You were my dorm master. I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you are. There's no reason for you to be in the shower, Tim. Please leave. I felt that so overwhelmingly from him. And then I thought to myself, maybe I'm being unfair. No, I'm not. Again, I'm not going to accuse him.
Yeah, this is, I have a lot of people in the chat that are saying like, Joel, what are you talking about with the razor wire? It's right here. Let me show you again real quick. So Texas is trying to protect their border, trying to make sure no illegals come in. And this is what the Biden-Harris administration sends, is a forklift, and to allow people to come in, to bypass the security that Texas put in place to make sure that illegals weren't coming in. This is what the Biden-Harris administration did, and this is what Trump is blowing out over media to try to show people the truth. You can't believe Kamala Harris on the border. You can't believe what she said. This is the truth. They tried to protect the border, and they literally sent over a truck to the part where they were coming in the most to have people come in. That's the truth. And that's literally a spit in the face to me, to the American people that want security, to those people. You just saw the ICE numbers. There's murderers or rapists at large in the country we don't know. But yeah, there's families that are lives have forever been changed. And that's why things aren't adding up. Check this out.
See you, Congressman. Good to see you. Just want to get your initial reaction to the Secret Service telling the Trump campaign he can't do his event outside because they don't have the staffing, and he has to do a much smaller campaign inside of a closed-door facility.
So I want you to see this. Secret Service shortage hindering Trump's campaign plans. So think about it. Congress just passed a bill to give Trump presidential treatment when it comes to Secret Service, but then now we're seeing the truth that they're shorting him on Secret Service and he can't even do things like he normally does. I'm telling you, it's all corrupt.
We do want the president to be safe. Obviously, the Secret Service has been failing abysmally lately. There's been 2 assassination attempts on the president recently, including one where he was shot in the face. However, we need to understand, think about what's taking place here. This is the 3rd congressional district of the state of Wisconsin, a state that the president has to win. And this is a even district. It's a purple district. So of all places in the world that they're unable to provide Secret Service protection, it seems pretty odd that it is in a swing state, in a swing district, in a state that the president has to win. Something's just not adding up here.
You hear that?
Well, here's a statement from a member, an official with the Secret Service, Congressman, that the proposed Wisconsin event also took place during the United Nations General Assembly, that's where the Secret Service is also deployed protecting 140 world leaders. What are our priorities here as a nation? Because there's a threat on President Trump's life from Iran. His campaign just briefed this week, in fact, by the Director of National Intelligence, growing threats from Iran. The president of Iran here in New York City being protected as he spoke at the UN, despite his nation threatening President Trump. But these individuals are protected, but President Trump is not afforded all the protection that he seeks as he is campaigning to become president of the United States. What in the hell is going on?
Well, we do have obligations to protect dignitaries that come into the United States of America, but as you aptly pointed out, when we're protecting the leaders of the largest provider of terrorists around the world, Iran, by making sure that President Donald Trump can get back into office and put Iran back into their place.
Wow.
We do have issues with priorities. I've got to be real clear. When your only job is to make sure the president of the United States does not get shot in the face, and then the president of the United States gets shot in the face, that means you're failing at your job. So again, I appreciate the fact that you're trying to take more security precautions, but again, it is very fishy that it happens to be right here in the 3rd congressional district of the state of Wisconsin, that they seemingly cannot provide the appropriate amount of securities in a rural airport that has a massive amount of the ability to actually be secured, unlike in Butler, Pennsylvania, where they're going to have the event here. It's much more readily available for security. And I know this because I did personal security detachment operations in Iraq as an active duty Navy SEAL during the war.
You know, Congressman, you have one of the most competitive districts in the state of Wisconsin, long time held by a Democrat. You recently won that seat. And again, I think this is hotly contested territory for President Trump and Kamala Harris. Trump needs to win your district by big numbers if he's going to offset what's going to happen, in the Dane County, Madison area. Not to go into the weeds on this, but again, it almost seems like this is election interference. to say that Donald Trump can't come in and do this massive, big outdoor rally.
Right there.
Bring in 20,000 people in this rural part of the country, as opposed to saying, listen, these we don't have massive facilities in the 3rd Congressional District in Wisconsin, so you just can't hold to capacity. Again, it feels like they're trying to interfere with his ability to reach voters.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, if it quacks like a duck and looks like a duck and swims like a duck, it's probably a duck. And it's 100%. Really unfortunate that we have to say this about one of the agencies that was previously one of the most respected agencies in the history of the United States, the Secret Service. But obviously, they're having issues. Mayorkas needs to be relieved. We impeached him. He's in charge of the whole thing under Homeland Security. So, unfortunately, they've chosen to do this. You got to remember that in 2020, they also pulled something like this in La Crosse, where they wouldn't allow us to have a rally there, and we moved to West Salem. It turned out well, but certainly didn't have the same impact that it would have in La Crosse. So this is the same old story, the Democrat Party running the government and making sure that the president doesn't have all the opportunity to reach people that he should.
Let me tell you this. I've got something to show you that's going to blow your mind that aligns exactly with the super chat that Mr. Tracy J. Norby just gave. Everybody show Mr. Tracy some love in the chat. He said Biden-Harris only opened the border to add more people to change the electoral of the states. It means more people for Congress. It's all for staying in power. These folks get all the freebies of the taxpayers who gets amnesty from Biden then. Exactly. Let me show you this, because this, you can't even make this stuff up. This literally broke last night, late into the night. But you know, I've got to show y'all. The Justice Department is suing Alabama for violating federal laws prohibition on systematic efforts to remove voters within 90 days of an election. So Alabama has come out and said, hey, we need to clean up our voter rolls. We need to make sure that only American citizens are on there. Only eligible voters are on the roll. So we need to remove the deceased. We need to remove the people that are non-citizens, because we found some. And now they're getting sued by the DOJ for trying to do something that is right to make our elections free and fair. Exactly. They're trying to control it. They're trying to make sure that it happens a certain way. It's 100%. And again, too, you're about to hit, hey, the British perspective. Thank you so much for the super chat. Show the British perspective some love in the chat, everybody. They say Trump talks of peace with Zelensky, Kamala of war. Yes, because check this out. I'm about to show you something, because this is not good. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson said that we're on the verge of World War III, and we've got some more details of it right here. Check this out.
Nearly 24 missiles and drones launched by the Iranian-backed Houthi rebel militants. We have a full report on this coming up with Trey Yang straight ahead. Also tonight, 3 individuals with ties to Iran have been indicted in a plot against Donald Trump. Also, Israel just delivered a massive major blow against Hezbollah terrorists deep inside Beirut. And coming up, Trey Yanks reports on all of it. He's on the ground in Israel tonight. But first, our top story. With only 39 days until this inflection point of our country, and that means the election, and nearly 4 years into her role as border czar, Kamala Harris has now figured out and pretending she knows that she cares and has solutions for the crisis of her own doing that she created at the border with Joe Biden. Now, of course, this is all an act. Her statements were obscene, absurd, dishonest, fake, phony, fraudulent, and we're watching and witnessing one of the most dishonest presidential campaigns in American history, all aided and abetted by a complicit and abusively biased media. Tonight's trip to the border reeks of nothing but political desperation. But according to Kamala, she has finally found, after 3.5+ long years of looking, the root cause of illegal immigration, and she knows how to fix it. Although she wants more bureaucrats to process more fake asylum claims to allow more illegal immigrants into the country. Oh, that's a genius idea. And one more agent for every 5 miles. What a genius. Take a look.
So I've just come from visiting the border and the port of entry in Douglas. I spoke with dedicated agents from Border Patrol and Customs officers who every day see the overflow of commercial traffic through the port. These men and women who work there and at other places along our southern border help keep our nation secure.
Are you kidding
And
me?
they need more resources.
Remember, I showed you the video. This is literally spitting in the face of every American, thinking that the Americans are stupid, that we don't have video evidence of what you've already done.
To do their jobs.
That's what it is. But she's been telling us for 3.5 years, no, the border's secure. The border's secure. In other words, she wants the federal government to facilitate an even greater volume of illegal immigrants, quickly dumping them into your town, your city, all across the country without all the, burdensome, chaotic scenes at the border. That is her plan pretty much in a nutshell. Not only will it not work, it is completely insane, which brings us to a quick Hannity history lesson, shall we? 4 years ago, Kamala Harris inherited the most secure border on record. And as President Donald Trump made it a top priority to implement enhanced security measures. He was called racist and all sorts of names for doing so. But that included miles and miles of new border wall, new funding for Border Patrol, critical diplomatic agreements with multiple countries, especially Mexico. Stay in Mexico policy may sound familiar, all to prevent illegal immigration at the source. But during their very first week in office, Joe Biden and Kamala, they repealed with the stroke of a single pen all of those measures. They repealed all of them. They bragged about repealing all of them. They even halted all ongoing border wall construction and got rid of the materials for pennies on the dollar, leaving millions of dollars worth of materials to rot and decay in other cases in the elements. Almost overnight, the border went from completely safe and secure to a full-blown crisis.
Look at that
the likes
chart.
of which this country has never seen. Take a look at the chart. Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. I don't care how much Kamala Harris says. I don't care how much Biden Harris says the border was secure, that they were trying to protect the American people, that they're trying to make sure that we're safe. Look at this chart right here. Look at that spikes. That is insane. They should not even be allowed to run for president. Mark Wolf, thank you so much for joining the True Life News family, as well as Nana of 8 Richie. Show them some love in the chat, everybody.
I need to do scenes from the border that you can see with your own eyes, and that is illegals. Oh, yeah. Camped underneath bridges, the shelters that are overwhelmed. Oh, remember the kids in Harris-Biden cages at the height of COVID, overcrowded? A border totally overrun by millions of unvetted illegal immigrants from over 180 countries, many with terror ties, some of our top geopolitical foes, no documentation, no identification, and that was just the beginning of what is now a full-blown national security, public safety crisis for everyone in this country. They have known suspected terrorists. Yeah, they have flooded into our country. I'm sure many are plotting and planning and scheming an attack on our country. Human traffickers, drug traffickers at levels we've never seen before as a country. Fentanyl deaths, overdose deaths at record highs. Violent gangs now, they're taking over neighborhoods, towns, New York City, Chicago. Schools, hospitals, affordable housing, all overwhelmed by the 11.5 that we know about. Unvetted Harris-Biden illegal immigrants, countless numbers of American citizens. Let's see. They have been murdered. They have been raped. They have been victims of other horrific crimes, all by Harris-Biden unvetted violent criminals who never should have been allowed into your country, but are because of them and their stupidity. And then they're lying about, oh, the border's secure, border's closed, border's secure, border's closed. But they have blood on their hands as a result. Think of Maryland mother of 5, Rachel Morin, brutally beaten, brutally raped, stuffed into a drain pipe by a Harris-Biden unvetted illegal immigrant who abducted, murdered her along with her, along a popular hiking trail. Then you got this young Houston girl, 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary. We had her mother and grandfather right here on this program, raped and brutalized for 2 hours by 2 unvetted Harris-Biden illegal immigrants. They dumped her body in a river. You have a nursing student by the name of Laken Riley. Remember her? Murdered by an illegal immigrant along a running trail near the University of Georgia. And look at all the other names of victims. Look at these names. It goes on. Dozens and dozens and dozens of Americans raped, murdered, victims of violent crimes because of their wide open borders. And breaking today, A scary new report. The director of ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, confirming to FoxNews.com that more than 13,000 Harris-Biden illegal immigrants are convicted of murder are now roaming around your country. 13,000 murderers on the loose inside our country, along with an additional 2,000 with pending murder charges. Meanwhile, more than 15,000 convicted rapists, sex offenders are also in your country illegally, and more than 2,500 kidnappers are on the loose. All told, more than 400,000 criminal illegal immigrants, even those with terror ties, spread across America. And you can thank your border czar, Kamala Harris, along with, another 222,000 pending criminal charges.
This is what I heard somebody say. They said if they came into the country illegally, so they didn't follow the law when it came to coming into the country, do you really think they're going to follow the law when it comes to the actual law of the land that we all live by? No. No, they won't.
Kamala did all of that. She's the border czar. She let these people in, and make no mistake, this is beyond a dereliction of duty. This is the most preventable, but yet vulnerable domestic security failure in the history of this country. Why did Kamala put so many American lives at risk? Why did she allow so many Americans to die, get raped, be victims of violent crime? The answer, unfortunately, is pretty simple, is that Kamala represents a dangerous mix of radicalism, extremism, and utter complete stupidity and incompetence. And according to her, in her own words, she never even really believed in the concept of illegal immigration. Can't make this up. Can't say this is AI generated. It's her. Take a look.
I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
Wow.
Also have the courage to reject that term illegal alien.
She says we have to have the courage not to say the word illegal alien because that's not nice. What's also not nice is those families whose lives will never be the same, who lost their daughter, who lost their mom, all this stuff. And what I hate most of all is that you have politicians who make all these decisions. And when's the last time that you ever saw a politician be held accountable for something like this? It breaks my heart. But also, we're also on the verge of what they call World War III. Check this out.
And Speaker Johnson, good to have you here. We're going to get back to Ukraine, but let me get your reaction to this breaking news that is happening right now in the Middle East.
This is a big day for news, and there's a common denominator in so much of what is happening today, what you're talking about on the airwaves, and that is Iran. It is through their proxies that they are engaging in all sorts of evil. There in Israel, of course, and even here in the U.S. That's the headlines across the board. They must be dealt with appropriately. We need strength back in the White House, and that's the other common denominator here. The reason that Ukraine is in trouble, and Israel's in trouble, and Taiwan is in trouble, and all of our allies are nervous around the world is because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have projected weakness on the world stage. Donald J. Trump will solve that problem, all these problems, and it can't happen soon enough.
Mr. Tracy J. Norby with the super chat. Let's go. He says, and the wonder why Americans ensure the Second Amendment, citizens are using the Second Amendment to protect themselves. I did 100%. Remember, the Second Amendment isn't there just to go hunting. It's to protect ourselves from what? From the very thing that they got away from whenever why the whole American Revolution happened. Appreciate you, Mr. Tracy J. Norby. Show him some love in the chat, everybody.
You know, the window that exists here and the Iranian infiltration into the Trump emails, they are clearly trying to have an influence on this campaign. And now you see all of this action that is happening in the Middle East and this meeting that's about to happen at the Ayatollah Khamenei's home. We're waiting for Nasrallah confirmation. You know, this is a very hot situation. Do you think that President Biden can wrap his arms around this and, you know, make sense of it and in our national security interests?
this is far above the head of Joe Biden, unfortunately, and very, very tragically and dangerously for us. He is not capable of handling this level of crisis. And
No,
certainly
not at all.
Kamala Harris is not either. Imagine if Kamala Harris was the commander-in-chief at a dangerous moment like this. We're on the verge of World War III. This is the most dangerous time since World War II. And you have to have steady hands at the wheel. You've got to have strength. You have to have a leader in the White House that our adversaries fear. And that's not what's happening right now. The reason we're in this situation is because of the way that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have handled this. We have got to get on top of it. Look, I'm grateful that the FBI and the Director of National Intelligence are making a move on the Iranians that were engaging in foreign interference in our election, but they've also tried to put a hit on President Trump. They've tried assassination plots. No one's talking about that. Kamala Harris hasn't said a word about it. We have to take the threat seriously, and we have to act decisively.
Let me ask you about this week and about Zelensky's visit to Washington. You have met with him twice in the past. You did not meet with him this time, and then you sent him a letter saying that a stop that the U.S. ambassador, the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S. made in Pennsylvania looked too much like a campaign event to you, and that you want her to be removed. You said he must remove her. So I guess my question is, or what?
Well, listen, I don't have more time for meetings. We've done enough of that. And my letter was very clear to President Zelensky. This was a major misstep. At a time when he needs the support of everyone in America from all parties, he should not be showing up at a campaign event for Kamala Harris, which is effectively what that was. They flew him around on a taxpayer-funded jet to go to an event in Pennsylvania, one of the key swing states in the election, to appear with a panel of Democrats from the nominee for the Senate, the incumbent there, to House races, and the governor who showed up, who almost was the vice presidential pick on the Harris ticket. It's unacceptable. He can't do that. I'm glad that he met with President Trump today, but he's got a lot more to do, and I think removing the ambassador is an important step to make a statement.
I'm assuming that you haven't had any...
This is a big mistake.
Any decision on that from them. We haven't heard any decision on that from them. But I guess what I'm asking is, does this signal any shift in your support for the Ukraine cause? Do you still stand by, because you've supported the all of the funding that has gone to Ukraine, and $8 billion more just went this week. Do you support that $8 billion more for military aid to Ukraine?
Well, the funding that Congress voted on months ago was important to prevent Russia from taking the capital city of Kyiv and setting up on the border of Poland, which would have then required us to fulfill our NATO obligations and send our soldiers there to help defend a NATO ally. We couldn't do that. As I said very clearly, I would rather send bullets to Ukraine than boys, American soldiers. But this is now a different phase. And what President Trump said today is exactly right. None of this would have happened if he had been in the White House. And that's very clear. I think President Zelensky agrees with that and understands it. And this cooperation is very important to make sure that evil doesn't prevail.
All right. Do you support the $8 billion that went this week? Is that a no?
That's not new money. That was already money that Congress allocated. When we get into the first quarter of next year, we'll decide all that. But President Trump will be in the White House, and he'll be able to direct how all that's handled.
Speaker John.
Let me tell you this. When you hear Biden, all he talks about is just give Ukraine them more money. Just give them more money. But what did you hear from Trump? Hey, we need to make a deal. Too many people are dying. Ukraine, he said, I've already talked with Zelensky. I know what he wants. He's cool with me making a deal. Now I need to go talk with Putin, and we need to stop this. No more war. That's what you want out of a leader, not somebody who sits back and says, just keep giving Ukraine more money. Just keep letting them fight. No, somebody who steps in as a leader and gets things done. That's what we need. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. And just want to say thank you to all of our new members of the channel. Remember, the link is in the description to join the True Life News family. Our video of our giving back is in the feed. And just want to say we're going to do great big things with this channel. And we appreciate everybody. If you haven't hit the thumbs up like button, please do that. And just want to give some shout outs to the British Perspective, Nana of 8, Richie, Mark Wolf, Mr. Tracy J. Norby for the super chats. Everybody, show them some love in the chats. Big fans of the channel, just love and appreciate every single one of y'all. We are here to serve you with the top news every single day. We're going to make sure you get taken care of. There's nothing, I never would imagine we'd be able to have a channel like we have now. Over 146,000 subscribers, but we are going to do things different. We're going to give back with this channel. You're going to be a part of it. You're going to see it, and we're going to bring change, good, positive change. We love you. We thank you all, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.